one or two.
All right, let's start. Actually, let's just wait another minute in case people are a bit late joining in. So just some house rules. Essentially, if you have any questions, please use chat. We will try and address them in between the conversation. And yeah, the idea behind the short webinar or the short meeting is essentially to get expert opinion on building a career in IP law. And thankfully today we have Mahua, who's got a fascinating story. I had the chance to speak to her about a few months ago. And apart from her life story, obviously she's built quite a successful career in IP law. So Mahua also happens to be a graduate, an LLM graduate from UNH Franklin Pierce. So Mahua, let's start. I remember one of the things that really struck me about your experience at UNH Franklin Pierce was that the school taught you how to write and trained you as a professional IP lawyer. Could you tell me a bit about how that happened or what they taught?
Yeah. So in the first semester, the semesters were divided into 2 semesters. And of course, if you want to take extra credit, you can do the summer courses as well, which are very interesting. In the first semester, they divided it into, they gave us a kind of a case study, and they said, you start writing a memo. Memo means an opinion, okay? How you give an opinion coming from a litigation background and not from a corporate law firm background, we don't write in such a structured manner opinion, okay? So when we wrote the opinion, that was also divided into some sections. So each time you draft and your paper is weighted, you then have one-to-one chat with the professor, and he tells you that where you were wrong and where your strengths are and how to write it properly, okay? That was the first time when I realized that any sentence which you write, it has to be substantiated with a case law. I still remember, I asked my professor, why can't I say my mind? Why can't I speak my mind? This is what I believe. He said, nobody weighs and bothers to know what you believe. You have to say what the courts have said, and each sentence or whatever propositions you are giving, it has to be substantiated by case laws. That was our first legal research and writing course. Then the second semester there was a moot court. So moot court was also divided into sections. First, how you write on behalf of a plaintiff, on behalf of a defendant, how you draft petitions. And then the last section was when we actually appeared before the sitting judge of New Hampshire court in the evening, and we argued there in a live court in front of a judge. Now, that was not the only thing. With regard to, like, I specialized in patent drafting from there. We had patent drafting small workshop classes where the professors who were practitioners, they came and they taught us how to draft a patent. So each class was divided into like 5 people and all. We were made to sit and draft the claims, and then used to revise and give us the claims back, that this is how you should write. So I always felt that, however, despite these practical classes, even like IP management, we were given a huge case study, just one question for the entire 3 credit course. Can you imagine? The entire paper has only one question, and that one question is an entire case study, which has a mixture of the entire course. So even attempting that one question, you have to know the entire, you have to have the fundamentals clear. That if you are advising a client, how will you solve this case? It was a problem solving case kind of a study.
But
You can open any books, anything.
yeah,
You can see anything. It's an open book.
but from a
Yeah.
career perspective,
Yeah.
are you saying, because for those who might not know about IP law, are you saying that these skills were immediately transferable to employment?
Very
Like,
much. Very much. And that's what we do in law firm. And wherever you go in a law firm, you should know these basics fundamentals. If you're a patent attorney, you should know patent drafting. If you are a trademark attorney, you should know how to write a memo or an opinion. If you are a litigator, then you should know how to draft a plaint, whether it's for plaintiff or defendant, how to approach a research. So these all practical things actually prepare you to, to step out, and from day one you are on the go.
Okay. I should have actually introduced Sarah Dorner. I forgot to do that at the start. Sarah is the director of international and graduate programs at UNH Franklin Pierce. She has a wealth of experience, and she's I mean, I would encourage everyone to reach out to her if you haven't already. But Sarah, to get to what Mahua had said, so is employability or training your graduates for a career a strong focus at UNH Franklin Pierce?
100%. I mean, we know that students are coming here primarily because they want to advance their careers. Many of our LLM students, I would say there's a mix. I would say most have some number of years of professional experience. There's, typically one or two each year that are kind of right from their LLB. But most have some experience, and they have a sense of what they want to be doing, and they know that the LLM is the next step on that path. This year in particular, and so I guess a couple of things that I would say is that our career services office is absolutely phenomenal. And they recently hired an additional director position to support our kind of professional students. So our international graduate students, we offer a hybrid JD that has students with a number of years of professional experience. So they have like a whole new position to support our LLM students. And in addition, this year, I think the class that Mahua was just speaking about is actually being taught by our Dean of Career Services and the Director of Career Services. They're teaching our American Legal Process and Analysis course. So while they're focusing on, the law, they're also looking at the professional development piece and supporting students with that as part of the class itself. They're getting to know students one-on-one to know what their goals and interests are so that they can support them with their career goals. For some of our students, they're planning to return home when they finish the LLM and work there. Others want to stay in the US for optional practical training. And so our career services team is there to support them and finding a job. So they're out there helping them with the job search process. They are helping them with their resume and their cover letter, with interviewing and networking skills, making connections. So they're there for all of that.
Just a minute, Anuj. So, Sarah, it is still there, the 1 year extension that is the optional practical training. So,
yeah.
After finishing LLM, you get additional 1 year to stay in US, work as an intern or, as a clerkship with any law firm, right?
Yep. So students, when they finish the LLM, they are eligible. So it's a two-part process, right? There's the piece where you have to find the job, and then you do also have to apply to extend your student visa. And so our Office of International Students and Scholars supports students through that process. My understanding from them is that no one has ever been denied the opportunity to stay for OPT, but there is that formal process that they need to go through. And I would say maybe 50% of our students stay for OPT. They want to get that work experience. So far, the students who graduated in May, they're still within the period of finding employment. But at this point, I think almost everyone who was looking for work has found something or is close to kind of finalizing on their plans. So I'm reluctant to kind of report out on that as we're still but it's looking really good for those students that they were successful and finding and relevant employment, right? So not just any old job so that they can stay. It's related to intellectual property, to the work they want to be doing.
Right.
That's quite encouraging, right? Because one of the strong motivations of coming for an LLM is employment, is some sort of work experience. But coming back to you, Mahua, it's been a while since you graduated. What are the changes that you've seen in your field of IP law, and what are the skills that the lawyers of tomorrow should have?
Right. So when I took up IP, it was not much heard of, even in India. And, I myself particularly never get much importance to that subject alone. I was a litigator. And when I did IP, when I did IP in US, the US, I found economy as well as technology and IP law was so much evolved. I could say at that time they were 20 years ahead of where India was. Yeah. So when I returned, I actually harvested that for the next 10 years, you can say so, right? But now that the technology has become universal, that whatever technology is coming in, with online, with social media platforms, and now today also we discussed in office with regard to metaverse, IP has gone from brick and mortar to online, and now to another virtual world that's called metaverse. Yeah. So I think IP is something where all the big transactions happening, which you can just look around, and what the major assets of IP is, that's the main asset of any transaction. The heart, the core of such transaction, the most valuable, which is getting exchanged in corporate transaction, the $1 billion transactions, they're all, the chunk of the value is IP. Yeah. So we have seen such evolution of IP just from being trademark or just from being patent. It is more diverse right now with regard to whether it is your data, whether it's with regard to your software coding, artificial intelligence. We have got all these words now, cryptocurrency, blockchains. I think IP has a bigger world, which I never envisioned at that time when I did LLM. Okay, it was just I would say by chance that my dean of a campus law center, she referred me to do IP. But I thank her today that yes, it is the future. IP should be a mandatory subject in every law college, where we had mandatory subjects like contract or constitutional law. IP should not be an optional subject anymore. If you don't take IP either in LLB or in LLM, I think you're handicapped as a lawyer going forward.
So just a follow up to this, you would still recommend an IP LLM?
Yes, because it's an intense course and it's a very, very specialized subject. IP has actually varied subjects. It is called IP, but it is, for me, it is not just one subject.
Yeah.
A patent is a completely different subject than copyright is. So until unless you extensively and dedicatedly spend a year on it, you cannot get a grasp of it.
Okay.
It will be a superficial knowledge. It will not be an in-depth knowledge and will not do justice to the subjects in itself, which are very different from each other.
Okay.
And just to add to that, I think when we think about IP, certainly our school takes a really broad approach to that, right? Like it's not just patents, it's not just trademarks. And we offer over 60 IP related courses. So it really is a breadth of course offerings so that students who come from different backgrounds can really map out a course plan that best meets their interests and professional goals.
And just to carry on, so I know you mentioned career services, but just moving a couple of steps away, what do you think students can do to increase their chances of success in the OPT? Like, what have you seen work in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important to connect with our career services office from day one. And so we have an international student orientation where the career services team comes and starts to talk with the students about the services they provide, about the importance of networking. So I think that would be my first piece of advice, is to really build a relationship with the career services office so that they know you, they know what you're looking for, and they can be out there trying to help look for jobs for you. They don't have jobs, right? Like in the US, no one just hands you a job, unfortunately. But they're reaching out, they have employers who have hired our students in the past, they have alumni that they work with. So the more they know about each individual student, the more they can kind of make very specific asks or be on the lookout for those opportunities. The other thing I would suggest is really just getting involved as a student here. There are so many things that go on outside of the classroom. So there's, of course, the student organizations, and those organizations are bringing guest speakers from around the world. Our IP center is bringing guest speakers from around the world. Mahua will be coming in a few weeks for our 50th reunion. So we're doing, our career services office is planning a mixer for students and alumni to meet. So I think really participating in those opportunities, I mean, that networking piece is so important. And so we do our best to really give students opportunities to network throughout the year. And the more that students participate in those opportunities, the more positioned they are for success.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that Mahua, the alumni is coming together end of the month, end of September. Mahua, what is your fondest memory? I know we are chatting about the memories you had. What are some of the fondest ones you have at UNH, Franklin Pierce?
Fondest is being in Concord. Many people, when they land up in Concord, they said, oh, it's not the America they saw. It's not the Manhattan and the lights and the New York, and it's different. Okay. So when we landed over there, we said, oh, is it what it is? It's a small town.
Yeah.
Concord for us is a small town, but it grows on you. Okay. Because the study is so intensive. If you would have been in any other bigger city, first of all, it increases the cost of living. Second, there are too many distractions over there. Okay. Concord is the ideal place to actually either retire and stay over there, live with your family, or go and study. And the environment is very, very different. The fond memories of Concord, I don't know if Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can still just shut your door and go. You don't have to lock your door in your house. Okay. And there was a house just behind the school, and few of our friends used to stay over there, and we just want a cup of tea or some Indian food. His house used to be open whole day. We used to just walk in his kitchen, pick something up and come back, cross the street and come back. Okay. And then we had Indian parties. We worked hard, we played hard, and we used to party during the weekend, and we learned this American concept, bring your own food. Okay. So bring something and just get together, all of them, play Indian music, all Indian music. The entire community used to dance on Indian music. Okay. So it was that bonding. We worked hard during the week and we partied hard during the weekends. And that bonding is what stays. Today, I meet them in any international forum, my classmates. Those days there were no WhatsApp or any group. So we built a Yahoo group, and we kept the name Samsung. Samsung was our first case study where a perfume name was the trademark Samsung. Okay. So it was the Samsung group. There's 80 classmates all around the world. Till today, we are all in connect. We can refer each other work blindly. We know that if we give the Franklin Pierce alumni a work, it will be done. That was the bonding for the parties, which did not go waste. Wow. So those are my fond memories of UNH Franklin Pierce. It was home. It was away from home.
Yeah, two things there. One is the safety bit. So yes. I'm in Philadelphia at the moment, and safety is a bit of a concern.
Yes.
But the other bit you also mentioned is the living costs, right? Because you're in a smaller location, the living costs automatically come down. Right. So I don't know, Sarah, if you want to take this, like what are some of the cost factors that go into the LLM?
So I would say first, you make a great point about safety. I don't know the current ranking, but in U.S. News and World Report, New Hampshire is consistently ranked one of the safest states in the country. And Concord I certainly, people should take, general safety precautions, I think, anywhere they are. But it is certainly a safe. I live right about a mile from the law school, and I feel very comfortable walking, at night in the dark. So it is just a wonderful community. I think that was the other thing that Mahua really touched on, is that the law school itself, year after year, students just tell us how much they feel a part of a community here, with one another, with the faculty, with the staff, and they build these relationships, like Mahua said, that really last a lifetime. And they're just really, our student population is so engaged. They are joining all the groups. A couple of years ago, some LLM students actually worked together to found a new group. They founded a chapter of the Asian Pacific American Law Student Association, and so it was just easy for them to do. They worked together to do it. And we also are hosting special events with our international students in mind. So there's I think bi-weekly or monthly seminars that happen that give students the opportunity to share a little bit about their culture with one another. And then we do our best to kind of share about the American culture. So this fall, we'll go apple picking, we'll do some pumpkin carving. We usually have a Thanksgiving meal all together, which is really nice. Last year, we were able to take our international students to a UNH ice hockey game, which was a lot of fun. So there's just a lot of opportunity to really get involved and grow those relationships. And in terms of
Diwali, you still have Diwali party, Sarah?
Yes.
The Diwali party.
Yeah, so they actually in recent years did this as like part of the seminar. Kind of that was like they spoke a little bit about it. So it's student driven, so it looks a little bit different. But and then last year, ALPASA, the Asian Pacific American Law Student Association, hosted a party. Okay. Yep. And then Anuj, you had asked about the costs. So certainly, like Mahua said, Concord it's a city, but it's residential. It's a small city, and compared to a place like Boston or New York, your cost of living is going to be significantly lower when it comes to housing, food, transportation. So I think that as students who are considering coming to the U.S. for their LLM start to explore programs, in addition to looking at the cost of tuition, which is an important factor to consider, looking at that cost of living as well. And there's different websites out there that can help you calculate what things might look like. But that's important too, because it will vary significantly throughout the US.
Yeah. I'll just take a short break in case anyone wants any questions, because we're nearing towards the end. If anyone has questions.
I do see one question in the chat that's probably best answered by Mahua. Mahua, someone here asks, almost all sectors, including IP practice, were largely impacted due to COVID. What is the future of IP career considering the COVID? Has the situation improved? How is it in India?
I believe COVID has taught us how to meet virtually, how to conduct day-to-day business virtually. So, and IP has, we are more dependent on all these platforms now, whether it is social media or e-commerce platform. COVID has taught us how we can do online shopping with confidence. Every kind of e-commerce transactions and all, IP is involved in every kind of way. I don't think COVID has dampened the prospect of IP anyway. Rather, it has enhanced the prospect of IP. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I think it's one of the first. Sorry, there's another question. Should one take a specific IP subject in a career or IP as a whole? As we're seeing the era of specialization versus general practice. So do you be a specialist or do you be a generalist in IP?
When you take up a course in IP, I will talk about LLM or MIT in Franklin Pierce. There are certain courses which are fundamental, like trademark, copyright, and patent prosecution, just the general courses, legal research writing, contract. These are the general courses. And there are afterwards are optional courses. Now, optional courses depends on your interest, whether you want to specialize in trademark, you want to specialize in licensing or patent, IP management or copyright. That then you choose according to your interest, and that becomes your specialization. Like I took extra credits for summer, I took extra credit for IP valuation, then IP asset management, IP advanced licensing, whereas I had done IP licensing in my second semester. But I choose advanced licensing course because I felt that is more practical oriented in my summer course. Okay, I took e-commerce, which was a completely new subject altogether at that point of time. Yeah. So
sorry, from a career perspective, do you see the rise of more specializations or specialist lawyers?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So in future, I can easily say this because it's already out there. And I always say that now in future, only two kinds of lawyers will survive and sustain. One is a litigator. Okay. A second is a specialized lawyer. But now that AI is there, artificial intelligence is there, which going forward, we have to accept its existence and its growth in future. The first year law student will be redundant, to tell you frankly, sorry to say this, okay? Because whatever the first year law student does, you can now get it done by AI. And many of the companies decades back, many of the franchise driven companies or license driven companies, they have already adopted such software where the contracts are being very template oriented, and you just customize it, give the party's name, and your contract is ready, right? So going forward, you have to be either a litigator or a specialized in any domain of law. I believe so.
That's really interesting, Mahua, to hear. I would just add for the student experience here at UNH Franklin Pierce, all of our LLM students are connected with an academic advisor. And before they register for classes, they'll typically meet with the academic advisor and career services to really have a conversation about what their goals are, what they hope to do with their career, so that they're picking the right classes that will best meet their goals and objectives. So it's not just like you're blindly, pick from a list of courses. They're there to really guide students through the process and with a lens toward their career goals.
Okay. Yeah, we're just closing in. Any other questions?
You wanted to discuss our scholarship?
Yeah, so if you have a couple of minutes. So one is, I find it interesting now that you've actually set up your own scholarship at UNH Franklin Pierce. We've spoken about this, but what drove you? What prompted you to do this?
It's just a small pebble in the pond. I don't want to brag about it. I only say that, it's just a nudge, just an encouragement for you to take the plunge. In India specifically, I would say what we experience, when we want to take up such course in US or in any other country like Europe, the currency difference is quite a lot. The currency conversion difference, USD versus Indian currency, okay? That makes the tuition fee is quite a burdensome. And nowadays, even undertaking a LLB course is no more cheaper as it was, or economical as it was in our times. Nowadays, parents spend a lot to educate them. Doing then LLB and integrated course also cost a lot. And coming from a country like India, where we don't have any dearth of intelligence and skill and smartness, but what we lack is the difference in the currency difference and lack of funds for that. So this is just my encouragement to, just encouragement to IP, spread awareness in IP and help students who cannot afford to go and study over there. Because I myself went through such a situation where I had to go through dire, circumstances to generate that fund so that I can go over there. And I put all my apples in that one basket. It was not an easy decision. And I just want to help them to decide in favor of going for an LLM in IP. And it's just my small bit of encouragement for that.
Right, just in context, this is actually a scholarship that Royce and Co has set up at UNH Franklin Pierce. Unfortunately, we have to close. There's one question. Essentially, it says, how will an LLM or even a doctorate help in IP practice? Especially for someone who's already got work experience in the field.
It gives you a practical perspective. It actually brings in many things in context, which otherwise you will not know. And LLM in IP US, I have believed that they are at par with the technology. They already have courses like in IPSI, the summer courses. They already have courses in like cryptocurrency, like blockchain. So these kind of courses, which is in line with the technology, as the technology grow, you need to educate them. Even I feel sometimes that I should go and attend some of the IPSI classes. And in US and all, you have continuing legal education, which as a practitioner also you have to go and update yourself, right? So I believe this kind of courses should be taken up to enrich yourself. However you study, however you make Google as your guru, you still required to be in that classroom of full of people who are IP, passionate about IP. And if you feel that I know it all, when you go over there, you will find that your classmates are already drafting patents and filing patents and sitting next to you. There
Okay.
is some reason why they have come over there.
Okay.
Yeah, there is no end to study.
Unfortunately, I know both of you are busy, Sarah, but there's a question. But what I'll do is there's a specific question as to the LLM. I'll forward it to Sarah. Or Sarah, if you can share your email.
Yes, I'm putting my email in the chat right now before we have to sign off, and would absolutely encourage people to reach out with, questions about, I think, we just touched a little bit on the value of the LLM itself. So I'm happy to speak more about that. If you're interested in applying to the program, we can talk more about that as well. In addition, Mahua spoke about the scholarship that her firm offers, and the law school does offer some partial tuition scholarships as well. So I can always share more. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you to everyone for taking time out today to join us, and particularly to Mahua. We really appreciate your support and your insights. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Anuj, for conducting this.
Anytime. I hope next time it's a bit longer. But thank you, Mahua. Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, 30 minutes goes quickly, doesn't it?
Okay.
We went through half the
Thank
questions anyway. All right.
Yes. Thank you for all for joining this. And I hope you take up this decision to join UNH Law Franklin Pierce. And it's not that, that scholarships cannot be clubbed up. Sarah just told me even Roizen Co scholarship can be clubbed up with their internal other scholarships. So the figure which you may see online may not be the actual figure which you may have to pay. So you can connect with Sarah for more detail about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all. Yeah. Bye. Bye-bye.